Hi class. Okay, so sorry about that. I needed to pull up the tables so we can look at step 4. So this is part B of the payroll calculation. All right, so the first thing that we need to do in step 4 is we need to remove allowances from gross pay. So this is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive, but kind of stick with me here for a little bit on my explanation. So when we start working at a job, we have to fill out Form W-4. And that form tells your employer how many allowances you want to claim on your paycheck, okay? And the whole point of that, it has nothing to do with Social Security and Medicare. It has to do with the amount of federal income tax withholding that they're going to withhold from your paycheck. So let me before we go over the calculation, let me write out kind of how it works. The higher the allowances, the less they will take out for federal income tax withholding. That means the higher take-home pay. Okay? The lower the allowances, the more they will take out for federal income tax withholding. That means you will have lower take-home pay. So let's kind of do a real-life analysis. Let's say that I was married and had a couple kids, and the reality is that I need more take-home pay every single week or bi-week when I get my paycheck, so that I can live, right? Because you need a higher amount of disposable income in theory to run a household with yourself and your spouse and your kids. Now let's take the reverse example, the lower the allowances. So if it's just you that you're supporting, you most likely want to choose a 0 or a 1 at the very max on your W-4. That means that they're going to take out more federal income taxes, and so your weekly or biweekly take-home pay is going to be lower. Okay, now there's advantages and disadvantages. In the first one, the disadvantage or the risk you take is that since they're taking out less as you go along every week or every bi-week, then you could potentially pay more in taxes at the end of the year. But the other theory behind that is there are income tax credits like the child tax credit, the additional child tax credit. There's also dependent care expenses. There's a lot of things that can offset having to pay a lot at the end of the year. Okay. Whereas in this example here, most likely if you are having your employer take out, pretty much the max that can be taken out, then there's a good likelihood that you might not owe anything at the end of the year when you file your federal income tax return. Okay, so I hope that alone kind of helps move you into step 4 a little bit more. All right, so going back to this problem, Rhonda is claiming 3. So our first step is to look at table 9.1 right here. And we first need to find out how often she gets paid. We know she gets paid bi-weekly. Oh, I said bi-monthly. It's semi-monthly in the other video. How funny. So bi-weekly. And let's say that she were just withholding for herself. This is for one allowance, $153.80. But because she's withholding for 3, we need to multiply that by 3. So that's what I did right here. I took $153.80 from the chart. I multiplied it by 3 to get $461.40. Next, I subtract that amount from $1,280 to get taxable, let's call it that, taxable income of $818.60. Meaning this is the income that they're going to use to calculate your federal income tax withholding. Okay. Let's do another example just to kind of show you the difference. That's a withholding of 3. Let's say that she were withholding at 1. Okay, so she were holding at 1. That means that there would be more taxable income for them to calculate, for your employer to calculate the federal income tax withholding, okay? So it would result, it's kind of, again, a little counterintuitive. We're resulting with more here, and that's going to result in a higher amount of withholding taken out of your paycheck because it's higher. Here, it's lower, and so you're going to end up, once we use the chart, with a lower federal income tax withholding taken out of your paycheck, okay? So I'm going to leave this example up here, and I wonder if I can block it off a little bit. Oh, that's not the one I want, right here. Let's block that off, and we're going to come back to that example a little bit later, okay? All right, so the next step is to now use table 9.2 to calculate what the actual federal tax withholding is. So let me pull that table over so we can take a look at it. This table is broken up into weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, and monthly. So we want to focus first in this area because she gets paid bi-weekly. And then we have 2 smaller charts, if she's single or married. In this example, she's married, so we're going to use this side. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing if you're new to this. So what we have to do is we have to say, okay, this calculation that we just made, and it's right here, 818.60. We need to find what range within this table it falls in. That's the first thing. So I look, and right away I can see, okay, that amount that we calculated, 818.60, is over $331, but it is not over $1,040. So that means I'm in the right range right here. And now I'm going to analyze this formula. This formula says the amount of income tax to withhold is 0 plus 10% of the excess over $331. So we need to put that into an algebra formula. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that over here. Again, the amount is 0 plus, let's go back, plus 10% of the excess. So 0.10, 10% of, it means multiply, of the excess of your taxable income that you just calculated over, I think it was $331. Okay. So it might not look like an algebra formula, kind of looks just like gibberish, but it actually is. 0 plus 10% of the excess over 331. Let's say you fell into the next range, and let's see if our higher, we'll do this one next so you guys can see the comparison, and we'll use this formula next. Okay, so let's stick with hers for now, for Rhonda. And let's finish this calculation. So we always start with what's in the parentheses first. So we take 818.60 minus 331, and we multiply that by 0.10. And it was 48.76. Federal income tax withholding for Rhonda. Let's finish hers up, and then we're going to go back and look at this higher taxable income example. That way we can make a comparison. I think making that last comparison